Welcome everyone to Sweetcast. I'm Clint, as always. Today we've got a special live stream. We're gonna try this out and see how it goes. Please. Oh no!
Somebody's echoing right now.
Oh, sorry.
If you didn't like it the first time, you get it the second time. Everyone got headphones on?
Yep.
Awesome. Oh, nice. Mutt, welcome. Good to see you in the chat. Okay. I keep hearing myself laugh in multiple places, so
Really, I can't hear you. You're good in my earphones. So,
chat, are you hearing a playback, or is that just me?
I'm looking for you right now. I'm trying to pull it up on YouTube.
You may need to mute. Well, I don't know if you need to mute it.
Sounds good. Okay, I don't know why. For some reason, it's playing back for me. Oh, I think I know the problem here.
Yeah, if you're trying to watch chat. And
every time I'm on with you, Clint, you just boomer it up like a
I know. Yeah. Okay, I think I've got it figured out now. Okay. All right. I'm not hearing any echoes, so it sounds good. All right, welcome everyone. Okay, so I want to explain what we're going to attempt to do here, and hopefully it'll turn out okay. So that is going to be, we're going to call this segment Scribbles and Scripts. And the reason being is I really love watching Drawn and Quartered or streams like that. A big part of that is because you get to see like the process happening and hear people talk about it. The problem is that writing is not interesting to watch. I would be really surprised if anybody just loves to watch someone sit down and pull up a Word document and start writing. So what we're going to do is we're going to pitch a new story, and then we're going to be drawing a cover for that same story, and we're going to be talking about writing. So we'll see how that goes. Now I've got a question. So far we have Trey here. Trey, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit for everyone?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Trey 50 Daniel. You can just call me Trey, but yeah, I'm from Alabama, trying to get my start kind of with comics, and I need to get my YouTube channel going, but yeah, I want to get involved with the Comicsgate community and kind of start my own comic and everything.
Very cool. And then we also have Macho. I've already had you on the stream before. Hence the repeat boomerhood. But you want to introduce yourself again tonight?
Yeah, my name's Dan, Macho Dan, for those of you on Twitter, and Dan or Macho, or whatever you want to say, here on the Sweetcast. And I am the writer for Hero, Blood of Patriots, and it's a indie graphic novel. We're currently on Indiegogo, trying to get funded, just out here trying to sling some comic books. And yeah, appreciate you having me back on.
Yeah, you're welcome anytime. And we've got a couple other contestants coming as well, contestants or guests, but not just yet. So we'll get the timing all worked out, and it'll be just fine. So I put out the writing prompt, or I guess this is a title for our pitch, which is a butcher, a baker, a candlestick maker. So if you went off of that prompt, the idea is we're going to do just a 30-second pitch for this story. It can be whatever you want. And then, we'll be drawing covers for that. Now, I do have one disclaimer. I was planning on drawing tonight, and then I realized managing the chat and everything else, I do not want to end a stream or anything like that. So I'm just going to keep the conversation going. And we're going to be talking about writing. So chat, cool. If you have questions about writing comics or writing anything else for that matter, or just comments, let us know. And hopefully we'll be able to address those. And we want to spend a lot of time talking about writing. You'll notice there's no super chat feature still. I'm not yet approved by YouTube to be monetized. If you are interested though in doing a pseudo super chat, you can. I've got a link in the description for my Streamlabs link. You can send a super chat there. You won't see it on screen. but I'll be checking that periodically, and I'll try to stay on top of it and read those out. So without any further ado, would anybody like to start? We got Trey and Macho. Who wants to be the first one to run their pitch?
Well, I don't want to go first because I don't want everybody to like mine better than Trey's. So without giving them a chance.
Those are fighting words.
No, it doesn't matter to me. I'm ready whenever you are. But Trey, if you are good, I'd love to hear yours.
Okay. Well, my short synopsis would be that the butcher is an intergalactic butcher.
Ooh.
Yeah. So he travels across the galaxy, cutting up all kinds of supervillains. Then there's also a baker who I'm kind of doing this on the fly. I don't have a real good script.
Hey, it's all good.
It's all good.
So we have an intergalactic butcher. Then the baker is he takes care of the farm back at their house, and candlestick maker. What can I do with that?
Oh, if you're not ready, Trey, you just think a little bit while I drop a bomb on you guys.
Here we go.
All right, the pro.
So I worked on this for a while, last couple of days. So excuse me while I pull this up because I do need to read it. I have not memorized it yet. So I'm going to start off with a quote. It is not a actual quote from this person. This is just my fictitious take on it, and then I'll give you the kind of 60-second pitch that I wrote for it. So the quote is this: to protect the American people, we must yoke ourselves, not with righteousness, but with wickedness. For the path to true peace is a strange and frightening science. James Monroe, Boston, and that was at the establishment of the Occult Defense Department in 1825. Okay, so there we go. That's your little teaser. So present day terrorists have changed, guys. Countries around the world are being decimated by zealots trying to bring about the cleansing of man. Laws, politicians, and governments have failed, and the global society is ready for collapse. All seems lost when a disturbing discovery changes everything. In 1825, Dr. Winfield Lovecraft opened a door to the spirit empire. A price was named, a pact was struck, and 3 spirits of long-dead races were chained in our realm for use when we had no alternative. Dr. Lovecraft named the spirits after popular nursery rhyme that he had sung to his son Howard. The project drove Winfield mad, and it was forgotten for almost 2 centuries until now. With nowhere else to turn, the spirits are released to fight the battles humanity can't fight for itself. Is the price of success worth the cost demanded by the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker?
Jeez, that was epic.
Bam!
That was
epic.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was legit.
He spent a whole day thinking about that.
So I worked hard on that one, and I like it so much that I might just keep that one in my pocket after we are working on this. So anyway, yeah, there it is.
That's awesome. See, and that goes to show, like, I keep using this example, but I really got to figure out who said this. But there was the 2 authors, remind me if any of you have heard this, and they made a bet on who, if it was more important, the concept for a story or the execution of that concept. And so the one author gave the other one a really silly concept for a story, and he took the challenge, and he ended up, that was his first book that he got published on.
Oh wow!
I've got to find. I need the sources because right now it just sounds like an urban legend. But yeah, I've heard it several times.
I've never heard that, but I'd love to know the story behind that for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna find out. I want to say I heard it from Brandon Sanderson. If you've read,
he's a great author. Yeah, I've read a lot of his stuff.
Yeah, so man, that's an awesome pitch. Got to say welcome to Chase with Gateway into Comics. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I just finally got out from behind that literally 20-minute long train. Good to be here.
Nice.
What's up, man?
Glad you made it. You got to hear Macho's pitch. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was legit. I really enjoyed that.
Good. Thank you.
Awesome. I've got to recognize too, my friend Ethan Van Sciver appears to be in the chat. Comic artist for Secrets. Welcome. It's good to see you.
Oh, that was wonderful.
What's up, Ethan?
Nice. So again, what we're pitching, I know we've got more people. People are rotating through. We're pitching a story that is entitled "The Butcher, the Baker, the Candlestick Maker," and we're going for a 60-second pitch. Chase, am I putting you on the spot if we have you go?
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, no, I'd love to. I want to kind of make a couple things clear first. I'm just a normal guy, you know. And when I say that, I mean, you know, I'm not technically a weirdo, but you know, people from I guess you'll kind of see what I mean. But I'm not really necessarily going to be me for a little while. I'm going to be you know, that amazing phenomenon that kind of happens on Twitter. And they all get banned immediately, right? But there's these incredible trolls, and what they do is they create these sock puppet accounts of these individuals with all gray faces, all NPCs, all repeating the same exact thing. I'm going to step inside a couple of roles and take those mantles on and wear the mask of the NPC. And I'd like to do my pitch this way, and I hope that you enjoy it. So right. I have a friend who's actually going to be making an appearance tonight. His name is NPC number 557239. I had a couple questions, actually, Clint. Can I ask you some questions about the pitch that you wanted me to say? Can I ask you some questions?
Go for it.
Butcher, baker, candlestick maker. First things first. Is that a slur? Are you saying that I'm a lesbian, or that it's something about a lesbian? But just because they're butch, that you don't have to. Just because they're butch doesn't mean that they're going to be a lesbian. Here's the important thing: diversity. Okay, you're talking about storylines. All you people, I was listening to you talk about all of this, and what it is, it's silly. It's silly because you're being all pretentious. Here's the thing. You don't have to worry about anything but diversity. And when you baker, is that a slur against Mexicans that work in the kitchen? Are you creating some kind of slur there? And then second of all, someone sounds like someone enjoys pegging. Candlestick maker, you don't actually. Here's what you need, and I'll just tell you straight up right now. The most important thing, like I said, is diversity. So when you have to, when you're creating a law, they say, I was reading this book that someone suggested to me, and I realized that it was pointless because the only thing that matters is diversity. So that's what I have to say about it, and we'll go on from there. And I'll have some other things to say later.
All right. All right, we will chalk that down for the NPC pitch.
And actually, I actually would like to kind of do a little bit of a pitch, but I would like to wait for just a little bit longer if that's all right.
Okay, yeah, no worries. Nice. So from my perspective, I'm not really competing. Well, we're not competing. This is like a whose line is it anyway? I figured kind of thing.
Clint, I came to win, and I'm gonna win. I'm gonna walk away with the W, and I'm gonna.
Having said that, so far you're crushing it. So that's pretty great. Man, to me, I saw a butcher, a baker, candlestick maker, and I thought that sounds like a pretty great horror film. It's like a serial killer. You've got a disenchanted police officer that's on the road trying to figure out who's committing all these murders, and it turns out that they all coincide with nursery rhymes. And so yeah, the detective has to go back to their roots as a we'll say preschool teacher, to understand where the next murders are going to occur.
So it's like
yeah.
it's like Dark Kindergarten Cop.
Yeah, didn't I love that? It's like it's kind of like a Hello Clarice, but hello, I don't know, Thumpkin, right? Is that the nursery rhyme? There you go.
Yeah.
Love it. So we're planning on doing some drawing. Are all of you ready? And do you have are you ready as you're ever going to be to do some drawing?
I have my paper. I have some pencils and random pens that I found in my daughter's box of stuff. And I'm ready to draw some really bad art for you guys.
Beautiful. Chase, you said did you get something figured out to draw on your screen?
Yeah, I actually did. It's the same thing I use to do just writing into text, in fact.
Okay, cool. Tablet. And then Trey, are you all set for some drawing?
Yeah, just let me plug up my camera.
Very cool. All right, great. While we're getting that queued up, I want to ask some questions about writing. Now, the reason I bring this question up is because I've got a little bit of time off because of the holidays, Christmas break. It's been really nice, and I thought, man, I'm going to really get some writing done. But the truth is, with 3 young kids at home, it's not going to happen. So I've been staying up really late at night, and that seems for me to be the best way that I can just get some writing done is when everyone's asleep. So my question is, when do you write best?
That's a good
I think
one.
first thing in the morning.
Oh, go ahead, Gateway.
Sorry.
You're good.
I think first thing in the morning is usually my preference, honestly, because it's almost like waking straight up. It gives you that. It's almost like you're a blank slate at that moment, So I always like to wake up about an hour early and just get that done immediately.
Yeah, for me, I think I'm with you, Clint. Like I have 2 kids, and until at least 8:30, I'm theirs, and so I try to spend time with them, and it's usually either at nap time or after they're in bed is what I do. I go somewhere, I put some music on that I don't have to think about, and I just try to start. I pull up the computer and start tapping away.
Yeah, it's one of those activities you can't just mindlessly do, which is with the drawing. And I'm not a great artist by any means, by any stretch of the imagination, but that's definitely something you can kind of just do, and you can talk. With writing, no, it's not the same thing. Same reason why making it a live stream is it can be difficult. Trey,
Sure.
What about you?
I personally since I have a young child as well, I kind of wait till he's in bed, and then I can kind of just throw my words on a paper.
Nice. So I'm looking at the chat here, and there's a pitch by Amy Langston, and I've got to read this because
It's good.
It looks good. Yeah. So the butcher and the baker are a husband and wife eco-terrorist assassination team where they kill off monsters and criminals, then turn them into hamburgers to feed wild animals. Amy continues, the candlestick maker is their son taking their bones, fat, and other stuff to melt into wax because recycling is important. That's a great story.
That's a good one. That is a good one.
Muttman says, the daddy struggle is real. Small kids will not let you do creative time. Got to do late night or early mornings. I hear you, man.
Yeah,
I hear you. All right.
Hey, so I wanted to say, I was actually not prepared at all. I wanted to actually make my pitch now because I just wrote it in the time that we've been kind of sitting here talking.
Deadlines. Oh yeah.
Deadline.
Yeah.
We're here. Yeah, we're right here. Oh, deadlines. What are deadlines? What is that?
It counts. If you're still live, you haven't reached your deadline. So yeah, let's hear it.
That's absolutely fantastic. Good. So it's a very dark world, and the future is what it is, and no one can turn back the clock when it comes to the kind of technology that's been presented. So there's individuals that are stealing people's memories. They're the butchers, and they literally call them that. And they're taking their memories and they're melding them and they're putting them into basically creating new memories for other people. They call these folks the bakers. And they've all basically hacked into neurobiology, and they understand exactly how the mind works.
Nice.
And there's a very small group of individuals, the candlestick makers. They're the bringers of the light. They hold up the light, and they're here to put an end to the individuals, to the butchers who are stealing memories, to the bakers that are manufacturing this. And they win at the end.
All right.
Nice.
Like that. And I gotta let everyone know, Slick Jimmy has just entered the chat.
Oh yeah, what's up, Slick Jimmy?
How you guys doing today?
What's up, man?
Doing well.
Just got back and I had to feed the family. That's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, we were just talking about those kids, keeping them fed and keeping them happy makes creative work a little bit more tricky. So we just did some pitches. Are we putting you on the spot, Slick, or should I call you Jimmy, or just Slick Jimmy?
Whatever makes you happy.
What? Okay, we'll go with Jimmy then.
You happy? It can't be that bad.
Do you have? Did you prepare a pitch for us?
Kinda. I was thinking about it. I kind of like things like road movies, and so let me launch into it. There are three people: the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. They're actually weapons traffickers, and they're kind of bad guys, and they end up getting a full shipment in a large trailer convoy type of semi trailer, and in the center one they actually find a bunch of trafficked women, and they want to get these women out of their hair, but they're not terrible guys. They're just bad guys. So they set off across country to try to get them out of the country itself. And so it's kind of like a road movie as they're being chased across the country in this kind of armored vehicle. So it's kind of like the Road Warrior, only they have all these weapons they want to get rid of. But by the end of the film, they save the girls, but they expend all of their weapons defending off the bad guys. And that's kind of how it ends, just them kind of walking away. And the butcher is obviously, he kind of has a reputation, and the baker's the guy who does he does like explosives and that sort of thing. And the candlestick maker, he's good at making things like rockets. And the butcher is like a smith. He can do gun things. So they during the film they would be improvising. As they run out of get to the very end, they start improvising their weapons and mixing and matching parts and pieces to try to, and then one of them has to keep driving the car as they go. So they get one of the girls to drive the car, and then the girls start helping them. And some get toasted. That's what happens when you get people who are novices, but they want to escape anyway. So by the end of it, it's kind of a big bloodbath, and that's how I do. That's how I roll. But you'd have a good pulpy, fun time by the end of it. There you go.
Nice.
I know it's simple. It's a simple idea. It's kind of like the chase going across country, high speed, stealing cars, stealing motorcycles, killing people. Yeah, there we go.
Makes for a fun flick or comic for that matter.
Right. Like the Baytown Outlaws, kind of like that. If you guys ever seen that flick.
Yeah, I can dig it. That sounds cool, man.
Yeah.
There's my idea.
Like it. So Slick Jimmy, now that you're in here too, I asked one question to start off sort of the writing discussion. I am curious to hear when do you write best?
Me?
Yeah.
Whenever I have time.
Okay.
I would prefer the night, but as I've gotten older, and this happens, every one of you who aren't old, it'll happen to you. You start switching off a little earlier than you used to. So it's kind of there. It's the nighttime. I'm a night owl, and I still am that way, but I can't do these deep into the, witching hour stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah.
The
Fit it in
morning
where
I
you
have
can.
to wind up. I usually have to wind up in the morning, and once I'm, got my brain going, then yeah, I can write then too. But I got stuff to do in the morning, so.
Yeah. Nice. I want to just check up on the chat right now. Durakin, I'm sorry if I say that incorrectly. It looks like he's been throwing in some pitches. He says, here's the latest one. Here's another one. War setting. You have 3 soldiers fighting their way through an indiscriminate war-torn country. The butcher is the main attacker and does all the fighting. The baker forges all their weapons and bombs. The candlestick maker lights fires and burns down villages.
See, that's something I'd like
So,
to. That's very
yeah.
nice. I like that. I'll go with that.
So many diverse ideas. Look at the diversity that we're sparking here.
Oh, we got so much diversity right now.
I love
So
it.
much.
I didn't hear you guys' other pitches, so I have no idea where I'm standing on that.
Clint, do you care if I kind of do like Gateway did and kind of?
Yeah.
I wasn't really prepared, but I kind of threw something together that I think can kind of work. So the baker is an American war hero, and he and the butcher are working together. He's a German scientist, and they're working to stop a hive mind that has been infiltrated from Area 51. And so the hive mind is slowly taking over parts of the U.S. And the candlestick maker is an explosive specialist who has to who assists them in their journey. So so you have a scientist, the U.S. soldier, and then the explosive specialists who are taking on this hive mind that is taking over each and every individual. And to do that, they have to get the artifacts, and the artifacts are treasure items that kind of hold power and are able to give them special abilities that the real world doesn't provide. Luckily for them, a lot of the U.S. bases, similar to Area 51, hold some of these artifacts, but they have to get through the U.S. security before they can be able to acquire them. So they basically have to fight both the hive mind and the U.S. military to be able to get these artifacts to basically save the population.
Nice. Kind of like an Indiana Jones feel. That's what I was getting there a little bit. That's cool. Very cool. So now as we were talking, I heard some scribbling. Has anybody started drawing yet?
Oh,
No.
I actually just did. I just brought it up.
What are we just supposed to draw tonight?
You can draw the cover for this pitch that we just came up with, or you can draw whatever. We're just trying to. This is something new, so we'll try something interesting. I'm almost like the pitch has been fun, especially getting the chat involved.
I'm trying to see how I do a good movie poster for like a mix between Cannonball Run and The Road Warrior. So
yeah. Yeah,
because I'd want it to be funny. It's not as serious as The Road Warrior. By the end of that, I can kind of see it, but I don't know. Do like one of those old Frazetta kind of kitschy things that he did a long time ago. Of course, not as well as Frazetta by any stretch.
Well, we'll be the judge of that.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So another writing question for you guys. Is there a way? Okay, so this is again prompted from my own experiences, but I've noticed like for me, it helps before I write if I listen to a particular song that's like, to me, it's the soundtrack of that scene that I'm going to be writing. I'll listen to the one song like 2 or 3 times before I sit down to write, and that seems to help me. Do any of you have any kind of rituals that you do that sort of help you get in the mindset to sit down and write?
Just a bit of
Yes,
Santeria. Kill a chicken.
Yes, well said. And I drink the blood of my enemies. That's absolutely. No,
lamentation of their women.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, I don't have anything particular. I do a lot of times like to put on music that I don't have to like, that I don't know, something that I'm not really familiar with. And a lot of times it sounds really strange, but there's I have a Pandora station that has it's like Cuban music, and I'll put it on because I can't speak Spanish, but I like the music, and it just kind of gets me into a rhythm. And I don't have to concentrate on it. I just have it on my headphones, and I can kind of just zone into the computer and do the research I need or whatever.
The fact that it's in
like
Spanish,
opera.
makes it not. Oh, that's not a great example. Yeah, you don't understand the words, so therefore it's less distracting. Okay.
Yeah, it's just part of the beat for me. So yeah, I like it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Who's next? Chase, did you?
Oh, that's what I was saying. That's why I like opera. Was for that very reason. And I don't do opera specifically, but there are specific songs that get me in a certain mood, and some of them you just wouldn't expect what they are. But yes, I do. Yes, that's all I'm gonna say. I would probably embarrass myself if I told you exactly what songs, because I mean, I hate to say it, but some of the stuff that I like is just,
You like it, but you don't like it.
A guilty pleasure. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll give you an example of some of the music that I enjoy listening to. Maybe change my mind. Maybe we'll do that later. But yeah, when I write, I actually like to listen to a radio station that doesn't have any lyrics at all, or barely any lyrics. And there's a lot of different stations, and it's like low-key lounge electronic kind of stuff. It's Soma FM.
Nice.
Yeah, I need something like that just that has a steady beat or a steady like rhythm to it.
Yeah,
and all the songs
exactly.
That's like what I need for whatever reason.
Yeah, try Groove Salad is a good station on there. Probably every 20th song you'll hear some lyrics, but other than that, it's all instrumental.
Cool.
Very cool.
All right, I'll check it out.
Trey, what about you? Any rituals, pre-writing rituals?
Well, I have to just throw my Eminem playlist on repeat.
Oh, dang.
There you go.
Like I like to kind of, to me, kind of sort of jamming out and kind of vibe into the beats and stuff like that, and then being able to kind of just throw words on a page, because honestly it kind of helps me listening to someone like him, because he's such a good lyricist that sometimes I'm like thinking of like, okay, these are words that I could possibly, like, he has such an arsenal of words that I can use any of these, like I can pull from this vocabulary.
Yeah. Love that.
Man, I like Eminem a lot. He's one of my favorites in rap.
Yeah, definitely.
I enjoy Eminem. I could not. I can't listen to anything when I'm writing. I listen to it before. When I'm writing, I need absolute silence.
Oh wow!
And sometimes I like to say like I'll repeat out the dialogue lines out loud, as I'm going. And I don't know. I need it to be so quiet. So I don't know. Late at night works for me. And Chase, it looks like so far you've got, I'm going to get the screen. Everyone should be seeing that lovely drawing there.
Oh man, I haven't even put a single line on that paper yet.
I can't draw. I mean,
So are you using one of those tablets that you draw, but you have to look at the computer screen while you're drawing? Or is it all?
Yes, in fact, I am.
Okay. Yeah, I've got one like that, and I practice with it a lot. I use it for flatting, but it's hard.
See, what's funny? I don't even know what that means.
Flatting?
Flatting.
Yeah, like coloring.
Yeah, for
okay, I got it.
Yeah, preparing it for colors. I've tried to learn how to color because I thought, man, that would save me some money if I did my own coloring. But it's one of those things I have to admit that I just need to hire a professional to color it. But flatting makes them happy because I can help them at least with that much. And you don't need to be very good. You just have to know what you're doing, I guess, and it's flatting enough.
It's very flattering.
Hey, so could I
I'm
ask y'all some
fun notes
questions
Sure.
Sure.
about y'all's writing process? Because I'm always curious about this. Because I mean, guys, there's literally a billion different ways to write, you know, and you know, techniques are just shoot. I mean, they're just simple tools that can be used as guidelines, and it's always better to color outside the lines anyway, you know. And so I always like to talk to writers and ask them, you know, exactly what their own process is, you know, in accordance with kind of the guidelines. So there's a lot of different ways, you know. I've used tons of different techniques. I've gone plot first, where I start to think about a concept and I try to develop that. And then I've done character first, where I first start out by centering out, you know, the goals and motivations, the history of the main character, and start that way. What are kind of some ways in accordance with that you do that are different or, you know, similar?
It's a great question. Are we talking comics or any kind of writing?
Everything. Because I mean, you know, when it comes down to it, a story is a story, you know.
Yep.
Traditional comic book form with ongoing series is that serial format where you you know, you continue a story arc and then it ends at a certain point, but you have two other ones going at the same time, and you are consistently filtering those new storylines in as to have no break in the actual continuity of the overall story. You know what I mean? So anyway, but I mean, I guess specifically just in general, when you get started on a story, you know, no matter what format.
Yeah.
I guess for me, I have to have, I think I have to create a broad picture of the world that I need to build. And nothing super detailed. And I've talked about it before with Clint, but you know, typically I will just word vomit everything that's in my brain right onto the page. Like I'll write every single thing that I can think of, and then from that I start formulating this broad worldview. And I have to have at least one or two of the main characters that are, whether it be a hero or a villain or whatever, to help formulate my plan. Like I kind of, before I start, I have a general idea, like kind of like what I wrote tonight. I have a general synopsis, and then I just go from there. I think some people, I think it's Bruce Patnaugh. He said that he likes to start at the end, and he literally writes the ending first, and then he gets to the beginning and figures out how he gets to the end. But the ending, I think for me, like getting to the ending is kind of part of the fun part of writing, because I can have an idea of what it's going to be. Like I generally have my ending, but sometimes that changes as you're writing, especially if it's
oh yeah,
you know, I mean, it's gonna change. So that's the fun part. I don't like making a hard decision. This is the thing that's gonna happen. So yeah, so that's me.
Love that.
I dig that. Yeah, because that's absolutely true. Things, you know, it'll always change as you develop your story. You know, I mean, even whether you'd like it or not, you know, if you want to have continuity throughout and have it be a good story, it is going to continue to change. That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Slick Jimmy, what about you? Your writing process?
Well, when I'm working and I do another job, and there's always new ideas kind of popping up in your head, and you're thinking about stuff. And so I have my phone, and so I kind of have something to write with anyway. But I generally have a little notebook, and so I write stuff down, and I keep the idea hopefully fresh enough in my head with just a few notes that when I get home, I haven't forgotten either a line or a character or some sort of interesting scenario. And then when I get home, I put it down and I try to figure how it'll fit into either what I've been working on or something new. And then sometimes I can, you know, puzzle fit it together, and I come up with something that I'm satisfied with. You know, and sometimes it's just you stick it in your file and, you know, keep it for later. Maybe you have an idea that it'll work later. And then I try to, after I do that, and that's kind of like it's essentially a world building or character building exercise. I want to get into the head of somebody, you know. And, you know, my main character right now is Sugar Lightspeed, and she's a female, and they in the past when I was younger, it was much harder for me to inhabit that headspace, and so I talked to a lot of women and a lot of girls and tried to, you know, pick their brain about how my character would approach something, and you know, now she kind of lives in my head, and so every one of my characters I've kind of done that idea. I've either researched out somebody who kind of fit the bill, and then try to look around, or I've went out and found somebody and talked to somebody. Like if I want to do a soldier, I'll go find a soldier and I'll talk to him. And I have several friends that can fill me in on kind of how they approach things in that way, or, you know, any other character. I know a guy who he ran a casino over in Wendover, and I kind of picked his brain about how that is done, and, you know, what's the he wasn't the guy who owned it. He was like the manager, essentially, the comptroller of all the stuff that goes on. And those are things I do as a process to when I sit down to really come up with an idea. But if I'm just pantsing it, I just write an idea that seems fun. You know, I'm not like Hemingway, where it seems like he's looking for something to be morose over. You know, I don't want to write that unless it has a point. You know, I want to have a good time, and that's what I usually look for. It's not fun, and it's not something I would enjoy watching or listening to somebody reading about, then it's not going to happen. You know?
Yeah. I like that. I will have to say, like for I've tried several different writing techniques, just process wise. I've published a couple novels, and for the first one, I was very loose with my outlining ahead of time, and the second one, I was like, I had a outline that I lived and died by, and I can say that I'm now somewhere in between. But I actually lean more toward less outlining because when I'm writing first draft, I know it sucks anyway. so I actually really enjoy the rewriting, and I feel like that's where I really make the best progress is like once I've got that first draft down and I'm going through that first draft and correcting things or changing things or adding you know, more believable plot points or replacing things. So yeah, I do probably, I'm definitely light on the outlining.
Yeah.
And I see some more drawing going on. Is that, Trey, let's see what you got.
Well, hold on. Gotta get it.
Little higher.
Camera.
There we go.
There we go.
Looks like a head.
Yeah, I'm trying to start with the face. Can't really do faces, but I'm trying.
You're good. That's the point of it. Trey, tell us a little bit about your writing process.
So yeah, since I'm kind of new to trying to write sort of professionally, I really am trying to learn, and I've read up, you know, I've watched videos of different people's process, and you know, pretty much all of them say it comes down to how you feel best to just be able to get stuff on a page and then be able to then refine it. So my best thing to do is to get the key of what kind of story that I want to tell, and then from the derivative of the story itself, then I can generate everything else that goes along with it and then refine it.
Okay. And then Chase, you brought up the question, but I don't know that you gave us your answer.
I didn't. So gosh, I've tried so many ways over the years. So gosh, when I started writing at the beginning, I was one of those weirdo kids that just kind of, first of all, I'll just kind of tell you, I was a liberal out the wazoo all the way through my childhood.
SJW?
Childhood when I was, let's just say, no, not quite. but you know, I was a kid. I was a dreamer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a lot of youngsters kind of are. And so I just had this kind of postmodern approach to writing, you know, and I thought, structure, form, whatever, you know. I mean, I didn't really care about that. I didn't even think about it. I was just like, I'm gonna write, you know. And that's cool. I wanted to be different, and I thought that being different was enough to make it good. And I wasn't able to see that there was no story to it. And I went on like that for, man, I'm telling you, like 5 stories, you know, 2 books of quote unquote poetry, all kinds of attempts. And it wasn't until I actually just kind of sat down and said, okay, I got familiar with different styles. I got familiar with different procedures in writing where, you know, there's a billion ways to approach it. It's like I said, I always kind of like to start, and you know, this is what's funny. I never know where the best stories are going to come from. Sometimes I'll just be thinking about a possible scene. Like, for example, I've kind of taken things from my own personal life over the years. One of my favorite stories that I'm definitely going to do a comic about. And it's kind of my favorite, my very favorite short story. And I think it's perfect for comic form. But it all started with this actual thing that happened to me. And I've kind of talked about this before in one of my videos, I think. But so I went to high school in the Middle East. And you know, it was a very different world. You know, of course, I went to an American college prep school over there, but at the same time, you know, it was very strict. You couldn't have pork. You weren't allowed to have alcohol in the country, of course, because it was Islamic law. And so, right, I was in high school and I did theater my whole life. That's all I did. So we were doing Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat, and so you know, we had no idea. All of a sudden, I mean, men with automatic weapons, you know, come in where we're practicing into the, you know, little practice area, and guys, you know, full fatigues, and they're like, they basically tell us we're breaking the law, you know, and they shut it down. It's like they come in, shut this down. You know, you're not allowed to be Joseph in the Tick. You're not allowed to. This play is evil. I'm like, oh, what's going on here?
What?
Yeah, no, and it's basically so. In Islamic law, you're not allowed to depict prophets in person. That's why there's these guys that are like doing the drawing contest for Muhammad or whatever.
Yeah.
They're doing that to raise a stir because it's actually illegal and against their religion to do that. And we had no idea, you know. I'm just glad no one went to jail and was killed or whatever, you know. But so from that notion and thinking about that all my life, one of my favorite forms of stories that I've been writing, it's always been dystopian, because I look at the possibilities of the future and what this SJW mindset can actually do to people and embolden them to create laws to stifle free speech and free expression based upon their own preferences. It's solipsistic in the sense that what they're kind of doing is they're pushing their own agenda on someone else. They're doing it to such an extent that it's tyranny. I mean, that's SJWism as it is, you know. But like I say, you can get inspiration from anything that happens. And that was one of those biggest things that inspired my favorite story that I wrote, just something that happened in my life, you know?
Yeah. Oh man, I love dystopias. But both of my novels are actually dystopias. And so I was like,
fantastic.
When I'm writing comics, I'm like, I got to do something else. Though technically, I guess if I think about it, the book I'm working on now, Downcast, you could say it's a dystopia, I guess. Possibly.
Right on. Yeah.
Didn't do that on purpose, but it kind of is.
So
yeah.
I know that we can like get inspiration from tons of things, and that's kind of what I mentioned there. But the way that I kind of have established now, my favorite way to work with characters is I have kind of a 4-step process. And I like to create the whole story. So if I have an idea of the world that I want to create, that's cool too, to have that in mind in the beginning. But then I always kind of like to focus on the hero first. And I always kind of like to ask just 4 questions what kind of goal or mission do we want to give them? What are some special defining characteristics? And then 2 other questions: what kind of history have they had that justifies what their actual driving force is to complete that goal? And that shapes the story so fast when I start that way. It's almost like I skip over all those extra steps that I used to use when I went plot first development and tried to plug characters into stories or whatever. You know, I feel like that kind of helped me a lot in a sense. I don't know.
Very cool. So another question that gets brought up here, I'm gonna change it here. Let's see how Trey's drawing is coming along. Looking good. So something that Slick Jimmy brought up is research, and that I think is a great question. What is the most interesting or strangest or something you want to tell us of as far as research go that you've done in order for the sake of writing?
I got a good one. So for the book that we have on Indiegogo, Hero Blood of Patriots, it's a very science-based story, and I'm one of those people. Some people can just write and they just like create a world, but I'm very rude. I have to learn about what I'm writing about, or if I don't, I just can't get into it. Like for this pitch I did, I learned about where the Rub-a-Dub-Dub 3 Maids in a Tub nursery rhyme came from when it was written in 1825. That was a little Easter egg in the quote from James Monroe, who the president was at the time that came out, or the time that nursery rhyme was made. You know, like all kinds of things. Like H.P. Lovecraft was around, his father was around that time period, and I thought it would be cool to put him in there because he's creepy and weird, and maybe there's a connection to that. So I have to have a connection to history a lot of times. And so with Hero, I did the same thing. And I researched brains a lot and why brains work the way they do and what parts of the brains control what emotions and feelings. And so I got real deep into this black hole of how your brain operates. And I could talk to you guys for a long time about well, and coincidentally, my wife is a psychologist, so that helped too. But I could talk to you guys about why your brain works the way it does and what parts of your brains could potentially be damaged by certain things like drugs or alcohol or whatever, and then why that affects you, or what electric shock therapy effects on your brain is and stuff. So anyway, I learned a lot about that, and it was a really strange road I went down. But it's kind of fun. It was interesting to learn.
Yeah, it's a great example. Yeah, who else? Strangest or most interesting sort of rabbit hole you went down for research for something you've been writing?
Well, for the one that I'm working on, a topic that's going to be covered in it, it's gene therapy, like where you can kind of not necessarily, it's kind of like editing genes, and so when they go in there and they can manipulate your genes and be able to add or replace or change part of it. It's a really interesting topic to kind of look at in depth.
Yeah, gene therapy, that's a good one. I was thinking, so one of my novel, I really want to tell people the name of my novels or like give them out, but that gives out my name. So no, I'm gonna do it eventually. I'm deleting wholesale a lot of my internet presence so that my name getting out.
Don't dox yourself.
Yeah,
definitely.
There's too much of that going around right now.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I just have to talk in general. But my second novel, there was like a survival scenario, and so I had to do a lot of research on edible things that grow in like suburbia. And so
that's cool.
Yeah, so like it was fun. It was really interesting. And kind of got me down the rabbit hole of freeganism. I don't know if you guys have heard that. People that eat out of dumpsters, basically. For fruits and vegetables. But yeah, like, so one of those was dandelions, and they grow, I mean, around where I live, they're everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I'm going to taste dandelion. And I went out to my backyard and I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. So I was like,
What?
no.
They're not bad.
Chicken.
So I worked for I used to take kids on these trips, like 2-week trips in the wilderness, and you lived out of tents and you hiked or biked or kayaked or canoed or whatever everywhere you went and everything. That's what it was. And so part of it was wild edibles, and so I could walk you around and make you a salad with stuff that grows in your backyard.
Yeah. Well, so I ended up like I had a salad that was bought from the store and it had dandelion leaves in it.
Dandelion
and it tasted fine, but for some reason there's the mental kind of thing like this is, and I keep thinking, when did I fertilize last? Am I going to kill myself? But yeah, so many like just interesting little topics that you wouldn't think that you'd have to know about, but to write a good story, you gotta know what you're talking about.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So oh, sorry, go ahead.
Nope, go for it.
Right on. So my biggest one that I actually that I think the coolest one, I'll just say the most fun I had during research that was specifically for writing. So I lived up in the Pacific Northwest for a little while, and I wrote a short story about that region specifically, and it was connected to all kinds of folklore. And it was I mixed a lot of the historical ghost hauntings and creature encounters, kind of the kind of thing you'd see on Coast to Coast, or George Norrie's show, Art Bell show, and kind of the folklore behind it. And I wanted to make it historical because I used a lot of the history from actually the district that I was living in, which was like a very old historical living in. Out there where I was, it was very a lot.
Yeah, I love that. It actually it sort of gets me thinking. When somebody, I don't know, like I get it when I'm watching like some documentary about Bigfoot or something like that, and people will say like they'll recount their story, and when you see them tell it, that they believe that they saw Bigfoot.
Oh yeah,
yes.
Absolutely.
And there's something to that.
They're convinced.
Yeah, and it's not just with Bigfoot, but anything. I mean, when somebody is like, "I had this experience, and I know it," and I don't believe that they saw Bigfoot, but they do, and there's something, I don't know, amazing about those kinds of stories.
Yeah, absolutely. There's the Mothman in West Virginia. Have you ever been to? I mean, I don't want to dox you for part of the country, but there's the Mothman that's in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and people will swear they saw the Mothman, and it seems like the most ridiculous. And if you read the info about the Mothman, it's insane. Yeah. But those people, if you watch the documentaries, I mean, like they're looking at the camera and they saw that they saw that big flying Mothman. It's crazy. I love like crypto. Zoology, I guess. I think it's like fascinating. I don't believe in it, in any of it. Maybe somebody can show me I'm wrong, but I hope somebody can. But
wait, what was that word you just said?
Cryptozoology.
What is that?
It's the study of animals like Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster or Jersey Devil or whatever.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so it's not. Cool. Anyway, it's crazy. It's really, if you look it up online, there's all kinds of stuff about it, and there's all kinds of crazy people that love it, and yeah, maybe they're right, but I haven't seen it. I haven't been.
I dig it
convinced yet.
Yeah, it's an interest of mine, but I don't believe that Bigfoot exists technically.
Right.
So,
yeah,
it's fun. It's fun to watch. I love Coast to Coast.
Yeah, I wish that Bigfoot existed. That would be awesome, but I can't. I can't get there. It would be awesome though. Slick Jimmy, are you getting some drawing set up, or do you have some interesting research stories for us?
I'm drawing. I'm just trying to show it to you because I'm doing it with a pencil.
Okay.
Me too, man. Me too.
The traditional, yeah.
I mean, you got to see my ugly mug there for a minute. I'm just trying to figure this out. When it comes to research, it's usually something that I don't know And so, you know, today we're lucky we have the internet and we can just jump on our phone and go look around. You know, back in the day, you had to go to the library. I enjoy that process. I like digging around and figuring out stuff. So, I mean, is there a specific instance of when, you know, I had a super good time? Well, not particularly. But you know, I'm gonna give you one instance that it's kind of morbid, but it also is super interesting. A lot of the characters I have in my stories are pretty dark, a lot of crime noir and so forth. And so I used to watch that show, The Most Evil. They had on I think it was History Channel, but
Okay,
so
true.
I started digging around in, you know, looking at serial killers and the type of killers there are in the world, and you know, mobsters and so forth, and it kind of goes down a rabbit hole. And one of the things I always say, and this is nothing new, but I mean, we make up monsters like, you know, werewolves and vampires and all this other shit. I just think those were something to explain humanity's craziness. I mean, as you go back in time, you start to see what has happened, and in just the last century, you know, as we've kind of examined the human experience, you know, the monsters walk among us. They just look just like us. You know, it's not like it's not like you're gonna see them, you know, like they're gonna be these weirdos. You know, they might be a little weird once in a while, but most of the time, you know, the psychopaths and sociopaths that we see in our on TV and stuff, well, no, they were the people that were walking past us every day. I guarantee you, you've met a murderer, you've met a rapist, you've met you know, people with all kinds of weird bents going on in their head. I can guarantee it. It's not a big subsection of humanity, but they're out there. And as I started on this research, I was like, oh, you know, like it's a weird place to go. And then you want to do the flip side, because you kind of get this weird taste in your mouth. So I wanted to look for people who did great things that, you know, weren't great people per se. You know, they weren't well known. And you start seeing these acts of heroism and kindness that are the flip side of this. And there are far more of those than there are of the dark stuff. Far more, which gives me hope.
Yeah. Man, yeah, beautifully said too. That makes me think about it, and yeah, I totally agree. I do think that there's some need to explain, because that's always the question, right? When there's something that horrific happens, or somebody does something awful, it's the why. And so it makes sense. It's only human nature that you're trying to find an explanation. So I like that a lot.
Let's see if I can show this damn thing. It's really rough.
You're in the right place.
Yeah.
Let me see. Can you see that? Can you see that?
Oh man.
Not.
Can you lock on his screen, Clint?
Yeah. Let me lock on it here. I don't. Let's see. We're locked on your screen. I don't see anything yet.
All right. Just give me a second here. All right. Can you see that?
Oh, there we go.
One second here. You see what that is?
Oh, yeah.
A truck. Hey,
yeah.
I'm no expert, but that perspective looks pretty good.
So basically, it's just a bunch of cars chasing a truck, and there's some people on top of the truck, and there's no scale to it. I'm just kind of winging it because I only have a one pencil and no eraser. So
yeah,
I'm there with you, man.
That's about as far as I'm going to be able to go, because otherwise it's just going to get muddled because I don't have any way to sharpen it. So
yeah. Oh, looks great.
All right,
I
man.
love it. Speaking of, let's catch up on drawings too. Let's see. Chase. Wow. I like that. The colors.
I hate it a lot. But those are the two. Yeah, I hate it so much. In fact, if it was in a comic book form and it was in front of me and I was doing a review on it, I would burn the hell out of it. I would just destroy it. It's really effing bad.
You know what though?
But those are but those are my villains.
Yeah. You could submit this to Black Mask. I did a video on that.
It might. I did. It was fantastic. At least, hey, this guy on the right over here, we could make him a paraplegic Jordanian
with an afro.
Here we go.
Love that. Okay, let's see. A tray. Let's go catch up on yours. There we go.
Yeah,
What?
You can really see the amateurism showing in mine as opposed to theirs. These guys are professional. They're just hiding it. They're masking it well.
We could get somebody like a real artist in here, and man, they would look good.
we could get an amateur artist in here, and they'd look good. They don't even need to be a real one.
Yeah,
dude, we could get my next door neighbor's kitten in here.
Yeah,
work right here.
It's true. Macho, do you have anything to show us yet?
Oh yeah. I got something. All right, so the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. So I've got the butcher roughed in, I think. So I'm envisioning. Can you see that? Is it too bright? There it is.
There we go.
I'm envisioning this kind of like samurai / demon. So the spirit that I was talking about in that pitch, and he's in this like creepy armor, right? So there'll be 3 of those spirits I was talking about in my pitch, and they're all encased in this crazy armor. They're the shield against humanity, right?
Nice.
So I'm drawing the second head there.
and your artist on Hero, Muttman, he's in the chat. It looks like.
Oh god, don't.
Yeah. We'll have to ask him. Can Macho do a variant art cover for the? I mean, would that help? Do you think?
Yeah, Mutt. When am I getting my variant cover, man? I need to get in on this variant action. I've drawn some really bad hero art. I've tried to send it to him just to be supportive and stuff, and he always tells me to stop. Don't quit my day job. So
he reports you for harassment.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Very cool.
I do have a little bit of artistic talent. I I've never honed it. It's just something I play around with. But when I try to do stuff for like Whiskey Paint, who's my artist, I often will send him just a little drawing and just say, do better than this. And he goes, but he gets the idea what I usually understands what I mean. The concept I'm trying to relate. Mm-hmm. And then he'll do something where I'm just like, yeah, I'll never be really that good.
Man, I spent some time. There was probably a year that I thought I really want to do comics and I'm going to just do it myself. And so I watched so many videos, practiced sketching. I got a lot better, but it gave me like a lot of respect for actual professional artists. Because I mean, drawing for me, I can draw a person I think that looks okay. But then drawing that same person from different points of view and angles and making it look like the same person, that's hard. It's not easy.
Well, I understand the basic ideas, concepts of how to do it. And if you give me a lot of time, I can usually come up with something that's okay, but it's not like awesome. Yeah. And I have a bit of art like on my computer that I could show, but I mean, even after a lot of time, it's not like I'm like, oh my gosh, I should sell this. It's like, I can draw a fair representation, and then you'll sit down with somebody who's just got kind of the thing. It's like a musician, Yeah. I've been playing guitar for 25, 30 years, but my best friend's little brother started playing, this is a long time ago, but I'd been playing it 10 years at that point. In 6 months, he sounded like freaking Stevie Ray Vaughan. And I'm like, okay, yeah, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
The same thing applies with art. Although, I think I'm pretty good at writing. I'm one who I'll tout my ability.
Yeah.
But, I don't think I'm not friggin' Shakespeare.
Yeah. Well, and that's the nice thing about,
that's good because Well, Shakespeare is just full of
You don't like
cliches, and
Shakespeare?
that's fine.
Eh,
It's okay.
well, you know, or Twain, or anybody else you want to pick out of a hat.
I do like Shakespeare. I do. I'm just a hater. I adore Twain, so that's perfect.
Yeah.
You know, he's problematic though. Have you read some of his stuff?
Everything before
He is very problematic.
is problematic now. So
Yeah.
even like
Yeah.
feminist stuff like from back in the day is problematic now because they didn't do it right or whatever.
Right.
Everything's problematic.
Yeah, the
It's not
goalpost
inclusive
changes.
enough.
You got to point everything out. Like Sarkeesian said, everything has to be pointed out.
Yeah. She made a lot of money doing that too. I kind of think like, man, there's definitely some money to be had for trying to be the most progressive person in the room, which is unfortunate, but there seems to be a lot of people falling for it. So, all right, I think we're sort of headed. Man, we're over an hour. I'm curious if there are any questions in the chat on writing or anything else. I've got one last one I want to toss around, but if you've got a question, let us know in the chat. My question is, for those of you who have worked with an artist on a comic, how did you find that artist, or what advice do you have to a writer who is looking for an artist?
That's a good one.
I probably have really bad advice because Mutt and I were already friends before. I always tell the story that we knew each other, and one day one of us asked the other one if we liked comic books, and the other one said yeah, and then we had that Step Brothers moment where we were like, did we just become best friends? So it was easy because I knew him ahead of time, and we just started working on this thing together, and it was just no question like that's who I was going to work with. There's nobody else I'd want to make comic books with more, so that was easy. And we kind of fell into an easy relationship as far as like working together, like what he expects of me and what I expect of him, and it's very low drama, no pressure. So I think the best thing that you could do, I think if I was going to try to do that again, I would need to talk to artists and hammer out expectations, number one. He said all thanks in the chat, but I'm just being nice on camera for you right now. But I would hammer out expectations, I think, number one, because I want the artist to be happy with what I'm able to deliver them and be realistic, with what you're able to put out. Sometimes, even for me, at least as a writer, it takes me sometimes I'm not in the zone. I don't feel like I can put down my best work, and I always want to put out my best work. So sometimes I got to step away, and he does that too. I'm going to spend some time with my kids and go do something fun instead of writing right now because, I want the product to be good. I don't want to just throw out whatever it is. So,
yeah.
Love
that. Slick Jimmy, now you've got a fantastic artist. What advice do you have for writers looking for artists?
Well, sorry, I had to switch rooms. Finding him was a process. I mean, it wasn't something that I just kind of went out and oh, there he is, and offered him money. Good artists are hard to find, and I was doing a writing of the same story, the little girl Leeple, kind of saga, only in more of a prose novelized form. And so at one point I wanted to get some illustrations and stuff for promotional things, maybe to show people the idea of it, kind of get them excited to maybe try to read it. So I've searched around on DeviantArt and some other places that I know, and I know a fair amount of artists from working in film and television when I was doing that. And I kind of got a few people to do some stuff, but it was never, high quality. It was kind of sketch stuff and give them a couple $100 until I finally found this guy, and he did illustrations for me, and they exceeded my expectations by several orders of magnitude. I give him highly detailed descriptions, which because he's Russian, I thought it might have a problem. And no, he was very excited with the detail of the description, which I found great. But then he'd add little things that I never expected ever. And the more I worked with him, I did about seven different commissions that were very good. And he gave me a good price, which was nice for the quality of work. Until finally, the whole thing came down with I kind of jumped back into I'd be picking up comic books every now and again, but then when Cap got turned into a Nazi, I kind of really looked what was going on in the industry, and then I discovered Zach, and then the idea came to my head. Well, and I've been floating this to Whiskey Paint before. Maybe we could do like a standalone comic to go with the novelization, just as a companion piece. That would just be a one shot. And but then the more I listened to Zach, the more I saw the kind of the hunger of people out there for good stories. I thought, well, if Whiskey Paint's down for this, we'd have years of work to do, and if there's a market, and apparently there's enough people that want it, we got fully funded plus a little bit more. Maybe we could do that. And it worked out. But when you're trying to find an artist, you got to find somebody, personally for me, that is excited about what you're doing. He was excited about my stories. I'd send little excerpts and say, look, this is the image and the time that I want you to do this. This is the shot, this scene. And he'd be excited about that scene. Or I'd say, I want this. I want kind of like this. This is her. And some of his first ones were very simple compositions, and then he'd come up with something really cool along with it. And then after a little bit, I gave him longer expositions, which somehow he got translated so he could understand it clearly enough. And he's like, "You're a pretty good writer," and I'm like, "Thanks." And he goes, "I want to read all of it," and I'm like, "Okay, I'll give you a full story." So I gave him one of my full vignettes, and he's like, "I like this." That's what you need to find. Somebody who likes what you do, because then they're invested with you. And then because I like him, I was willing to partner with him. So whatever we're doing right now, he gets half of that. Whatever profit we make. Plus I pay him as we go, because the guy can't live on nothing.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say to a writer. If you want to get an artist with a comic book, you need to get them excited about working with you. Otherwise, you need to make enough money that you can just pay them straight up, because, if you want good art, you have to pay for it. If you want some art, you get what you pay for. That's my advice. And it's not an easy thing.
No.
I don't know I'm talking rare. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. Yeah. So my experience, I've had, let's see, I've worked with, I think I'm on my 5th artist now. And most of those artists I've paid, and it's just been a pay for hire thing. And then I did have one that I worked with that it was free. The difference is the one where the artist was working for free, that project never happened. Like, we never had anything to show for it. No art. I had scripts, but so I do think that paying is important if you want to get somebody involved. However, you can definitely, finding an artist that cares more than just about getting a paycheck is crucial. Because I've also had artists that they only cared about the paycheck, and once for the submission that we were putting together, once they got that money, they didn't care if the project moved forward at all, because they just wanted that little bit. So that it's definitely a hard balance. But I will say there are a lot of good artists out there, but it's not just finding a good artist, it's finding like an artist that can act professional with professionalism and communicate, and let you know if they have problems with deadlines or anything like that. That's all really important stuff. So
yeah, that's great advice right there. You also have to be patient. If you're doing, and there are different types of pieces of art. Like some of you might have seen, I have a very kind of brilliantly colored and kind of impressionist piece of sugar and kind of the Lost Peaks Valley in the background. So if those of you have seen the art that I put out there, that was a very expensive piece done by, one-off piece done by a Spanish artist. And I had to wait around for her availability because she's popular. She does a lot of work and does gallery shows and that sort of thing. Whiskey Paint didn't do stuff like that. He works basically doing pinups. That's what he did. He made a good living doing pinups that are kind of like anime-ish, but he can do anything. And he was worried about the sequential art, that he wasn't going to be able to do it. I had to kind of talk him into it. And now that I've seen it, I think he can do anything he wants, absolutely anything. And then he tells me this stuff now that he's kind of getting his sea legs and he's getting confidence. He goes, I can do better. I can do much better. And I'm like looking at the stuff he's giving me. I'm like, well, what's your better? Because I'm looking at really good right now.
Yeah.
And he's like really, but he goes, the next book, he's going to be so much better. And I'm like, oh, okay then.
Nice.
I got to step up my game to give him, imagery to tackle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Love that. Chase, do you have you worked with an artist yet for comics or otherwise?
I actually have not. I can say I've done nothing but short stories until probably about 6 or 7 months ago. But I will say this, and this is something that I've seen people write consistently across the board when people ask, hey, what's that biggest advice you'd have to communicate with your artist? From what everybody says, just be totally, completely, 100% straight up with them, honest with them, and ask them to do the same for you. And ask, I like this is what some people said, and I think it was, I don't even remember if it was Chip Zdarsky or which pro said this on Twitter. There are very few pros, quote unquote, that I follow. Chip Zdarsky is one of them. I think at one point he said something to the extent of, please do not automatically try to dictate camera angles without asking your artist their input, because it's actually just a really considerate thing to do, because a lot of artists actually like to do that, and they really appreciate the freedom to do camera angles specifically, because of course a lot of times when you're writing full script format, you won't have the freedom to the artist won't have the freedom, of course, to say what's in the frame or what's on the page, but camera angles are one of those things that are kind of floating between us and the artists. And so one of the biggest things that I've seen people say is, hey, artists really like that freedom. So, just be honest with them and ask them what they think. And I don't know. That's my advice.
Love that. Trey, what about you?
Well, I haven't actually got to work with an artist yet, so hearing a lot of this is interesting to me, because I'm trying to look myself for my artist for the book that I'm working on.
Nice. Yeah, it's important, and that question comes up a lot. And even I can only speak for myself, but even after having worked with 5 different artists, I still sometimes wonder, man, am I doing this right? So I can say, though, if you find a match made in heaven, keep them happy. That's
what's your best art? I mean, I'm not naming, but what is your best experience with your artist? I mean, I've had several artists, but none that I had, but one that I've had with sequential art. The other ones have all been like illustrations, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I've had one artist. I've actually shown just a little bit of her work. We prepared a pitch for Image Comics several years back. She was very professional in just communicating with me, and she took the liberty of adding things in, which I actually like. As the writer, I want them to feel invested and add things to it. And so that to me was super positive. So that's definitely something I look for more. And I've not had like a horrible experience with working with any of those artists. It's just, yeah, I guess some better than others.
Yeah. I mean, I had a falling out with one guy. I don't know what happened with him. He did some work that I absolutely loved. I just, I'm very meticulous about what I want, and I guess he got fed up with it. And then he wouldn't respond to my emails anymore. And strangely enough, I tried to send him money, and he refused it, which I was like, okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and like I felt bad ever since because I really loved what he came up with. But I guess, and I told him if any of the changes I asked for, he wanted extra money, then that was just added on top. But I don't know, maybe my personality rubbed wrong with him. That was one character. That was about 10 years back, actually. And so every time, like, I'm very nice to my artist. If I am unsatisfied with something I've commissioned, I will tell them. And I will usually preface it with, I get one modification after a certain, after we get kind of a polished level, if I see something I want to fix. And then after that, we'll talk about what other stuff comes on top, because I believe they should be paid. And I mean, I've talked to some writers that, they're very persnickety about, well, if I'm not getting paid, then, and I'm like, well, okay, that's you. But if you listen to Peter Samedi, it's basically the writer is always the one who's shelling out the money but we own the property, that's the difference.
Yeah.
And unless we want to share that property, like I've done with Whiskey Paint, and I shared what we get subsequently off of his imagery, which is selling my ideas. I still have the prose, the stories, the short stories and novelization. But I understand that, because if I get anything off of that, like say a video game or somebody else wants to do animation of it or something, if anything comes of this, well, it's all because he sold it. You know what I mean? And I realize the value of it. So as writers, we've got to understand, if we make a partner with somebody, unless we've figured out and paid them properly, that's how it's going to be.
It's the way that I look at it, it's just it's the reality. It's kind of like with men and women, like in that sort of relationship, you've got to give in certain areas. And as far as being a writer with an artist, you gotta pay your artist. And so for me, that's selling stuff, getting a part-time job if I need to. Now within reason, obviously they can't be asking such high rates that you can't, even if you did a really great job with fundraising and everything, you're not even going to break even. That's a different issue.
Well, in this market, unless you are extremely good, like, and that means you should, I don't think $300 a page should ever be anything above, unless you have a name, unless you're somebody, you know what I mean? And $300 a page, I would say, needs to be colored with it. They need to be doing the colors. $200 per page is high end, in my opinion, right now. And you usually can find somebody between $200 and $100 a page. Now, whatever you pay for, the lower end is going to be not as great, unless they're your buddy or something. But even so, that's not bad, because, $100 a page, 10 pages, that's $1,000. And that's not bad. It's not, it depends on how quick they are and how skilled they are at rendering. But, if they take forever, well, then that's on them, unless they're doing me a Rembrandt for every panel, then, it is what it is. Everybody, and that's the thing that most of the writers need to know. They need to know the market and what it will bear. Americans often charge way too much for what the market is right now, because we can get stuff in other countries that is far less, and they're happy to get the money we're giving them to them. So they need to know that and say, look, I'm sorry, I know that you're living in the U.S., but you can't be raking me over the coals. I mean, I've had guys charge me like I say I like your art, and they're like, $400 a page, and I'm like, whoa, okay, sorry, have a nice day.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of money, and I know that they think that they're worth it, but they got to know the world market we're in a world market in this realm right now. So
yeah, and it has less to do with how much hours, and I hear that a lot. It's like, well, a page takes me, whatever, 6 to 8 hours of time to do a page. That I feel for you, but that's not really how prices work. It has more to do with what the market will pay for it. So yeah,
if they ask me an hourly rate, I won't do it. It's page rate.
Yeah.
And then
always page rate, correct?
Always
Yes.
page rate. And I'm not going to do an hourly rate. If they ask me an hourly rate, that's just too bad. They're not going to get my business. And
Yeah.
I don't want to be cruel about that. If I ask for a modification, then we can talk hourly rate, because I'm asking them something on top of what we already agreed upon. No, and I've heard that several times in several artists I've talked to in the last little while for pinups, and they're giving me hourly rate, and I'm like, no, I don't do that. It's give me a rate for the image. It's full body, bust, portrait, full color, extra characters. You got to tell me what each one of those elements cost for the image. I'm not giving you hourly. If you want hourly, go work painting walls. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks guys for the stream. I'm just going to do a quick look at the chat. Has been a lot of great discussion going on there, which is great. I didn't see any questions necessarily directed to us. But yeah, thanks everyone for coming on. I'm going to end this so we'll be about at an hour and a half. And if you have anybody who's listening, please let us know any feedback. Let me know. I want to start doing more writing discussions like this, and I want to get a good format for it. Give me some feedback if you like the pitches, the drawings, questions, whatever, or something else you'd like to see. That would be great. And if that's it, then we will see you all next time.
Hey, Clint, can I give a quick pitch for my book that's currently on Indiegogo? Is that cool?
Oh, yeah.
Is that kosher?
Yes, please do.
All right, awesome. Hey guys, if you haven't seen or haven't heard, I have a book on Indiegogo. It's called Hero Blood of Patriots, and it is a big guns military, undead soldier, crazy action-packed 90s style or 90s feeling kind of comic. And if you guys want to kind of jump into the story, we have a free 16-page 0 issue. It's on Indiegogo right now. Please go check it out. It's free. Just go download it, get in the story, and if you like it, consider backing us. We have 8 days. We have a long way to go, and in our funding, and we're hoping that we can get there. If it's, it might be a long shot, but I believe in Christmas miracles, and Christmas just passed, so I'm hoping there's some miracles left. So anyway, yeah, you guys go check it out, please. I would appreciate it. And once again, it's Hero Blood of Patriots, and yeah, thanks for having us on, Clint. I had a blast. I hope you liked my pitch.
Loved it. Yeah,
I actually think if we actually had to take a vote on what was best, I would actually have to go with his pitch, to be perfectly honest with you. I know it was the one that I walked in on, but I just have to say.
I haven't heard it, but I agree.
It was pretty fantastic. Now I want to step up my game next time. Yeah, it's on. Let's do this. Great.
Let me throw out there, Little Girl Lethal is on till the 29th. If you guys haven't backed it, it is for not for children. So there's that out there. But it's a good time. You will be pleasantly surprised that there's a lot of story in there as opposed to just TNA. All right. So go check it out. Little Girl Lethal on Indiegogo.
Great. And all of us, our Twitter handles are in the description. So feel free to follow any of us or all of us on Twitter if you would like to hear more. Thank you, and see you next time.